Laverne and Shirley won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it's 932 AD, and we're trekking. We're trekking.
Yeah, we're trekking.
We're going to go murder a bunch of people to steal a grail.
Yeah, we are. We're going to dance and sing and fight rabbits and Frenchmen.
I do believe this was my introduction to Monty Python. I think it was a lot of people's introduction to Monty Python. But it's interesting after watching the show and like how everything's connected but not, and that the fact that they could do a full movie that technically had a whole plot, quote unquote plot.
Sure.
It doesn't have a resolution, but whatever. But it was nice to know that they could do a movie that was like a straight movie, like, you know, like a movie. Like It had a beginning, middle, and end.
It wasn't a bunch of sketches.
It just wasn't a bunch of sketches. So it was very brilliant.
Oh my God. I remember my sister talking about this because she's older and she went to see it. I don't know if she went to see it in the theater. But I was so jealous because she was just like, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Right.
And, you know, her and her friends, you know, and I don't know, it was only PG. I always thought it was R.
No, if they had the nuns originally were supposed to be nude. If they were, then it would have been R.
Yeah,
but they decided not to.
I think it would probably be PG-13 if
it had been released 10 years later.
Yeah.
Definitely there was some stuff that pushed the PG rating.
Yes, a lot of blood, but the blood was so fake looking.
Yeah.
But oh my God, yeah, this movie. I remember seeing this. You know, I had already known and been a fan of Monty Python.
Yeah.
But, you know, the movie had already been out. It's not like I became a fan of Monty Python at 4.
At 4? 5, yeah.
So, you know.
Mommy, let's go see Holy Grail again.
You're a weird kid.
I like it when they throw the cow.
Can we talk about the ramifications of President Ford's... Shut up. Just go play with your Legos.
We live in an autonomous collective.
Yes, no, mother. And strangely enough, my mom talks just like that.
Yep.
Jim, it's your spam. No, she doesn't. Sorry, Mom.
No, she doesn't.
But, you know, once we started, I think probably around, you know, I started watching the guys probably at like 8 or 9.
Okay.
And then probably saw this 12 or 13, most likely, I think, with Laser Tag Larry.
Okay. Yeah.
And it really, all we did was quote this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, all of the bits. Me.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many. Yes, there are so many. The whole film is quotable.
Oh, yeah. The whole movie. The whole movie.
And it was a revelation. And the whole bit of John Young is the historian, and he gets killed.
Oh, yeah.
The thread of the investigation.
Plot.
Yes, and then it just ends the movie with
It's so great.
Sets it up so perfectly.
They just keep cutting back to him dead.
Yes, because it is brilliant. Because they didn't have enough money to finish the movie.
No, well, I mean, they never had enough money.
Never had enough. It was only like $400,000 or something crazy like that.
There was never enough money.
So
not what they wanted to do.
Exactly.
So they worked with it.
But it fits so perfectly with the Monty Python vibe, which is you don't get what you want. There's no punchlines. There's no conclusion. So it makes sense for their first film, at least, to be denied a conclusion.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just like the sketches when a cop would come in and arrest the guy.
Yeah, it just ended. It was just done. And oh my God, the end with the 18 minutes of music over black, it just goes on forever.
Oh my God. There must have been so many pissed off people in the thing. What the hell is this?
What is going on? Where's the picture?
Come on, picture. What's going on here? Hey, yeah, this is the recordings from the New Jersey screening 75. Hey, what's going on here? Hey, I paid my $3.
And I love the fact that we watched this and then it ends and then it went back to the main menu and Jim was like, "There's no credits."
I totally forgot. I thought they had like goofy credits, like
No, there was absolutely none. They did everything at the beginning with the goofy Norwegian.
Right. I think it's Meaning of Life that has like the reverse. There's one credits that kind of reverses and comes back.
We'll find out.
Maybe it's a different movie. Who knows? My brain.
Tune in next week or the week after, and maybe we'll figure it out.
Who knows? But yeah, man. And then going from this to Life of Brian and then Meaning of Life, which is the only one that I've seen in the theater. Well, I saw a revival of both Holy Grail and Life of Brian in the theater.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, Boston. They had.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they would. They'll pop up randomly. People will be like, "Hey, let's do a screening of the Holy Grail."
And I'm pretty sure I saw a double feature at the New Beverly.
Oh yeah. Oh, probably only on film.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of, I'm pretty sure that the Holy Grail is being re-released either this week or last week.
It was. I think they had 2 screenings. I think it was the 3rd and the 6th, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
It was a celebration because it is the 50th anniversary.
yeah.
50 years this year.
The irony is that I bought the 40th anniversary Blu-ray.
I think I have the 30th. But yeah, it's crazy. The thing that the thing that is so revelatory about just the first 2 shows is how incredibly not only funny and brilliant and groundbreaking, but their humor is evergreen. It's bigger concepts.
Yeah.
It's talking about, the proletariat.
Yeah, a king.
Yes.
Well, I didn't vote for you.
I didn't vote for you. Who chose you? I didn't choose you. You're not my king.
That's probably my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Well, we're more of a commune.
It's so great because it is so subverts what you think of medieval times to be.
Exactly.
Like, it's so fantastic.
Just sitting there piling dirt.
Just stacking mud. Like, what do you? That was the bad. Jim's like, what the hell are they doing? It's like nothing. They're just doing busy work.
But every, whether it's them talking about their community collective, or the nuns talking about the way that they live, or everything. You're right. It completely subverts the power of the king. Because nobody respects him anywhere he goes.
No, they didn't even know who he is.
I'm king of the Britons.
Which, when you think about it, 100% is what would happen.
What are Britons?
The king would show up and you'd be like, who are you?
Who are the Britons? You're the Britons.
We're all Britons.
I'm king of all of you. Who said that?
We
didn't elect you.
I mean, that's what I love about it, because that at some point some king went down to a village and they were like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Yes.
Like, you have no meaning to anything I'm doing.
Have heart in your general direction.
Oh my God, they love the French so much.
Oh my God. Again, it's a movie that is relentless with its laughs.
Yeah.
And, like I talked about last week, and I talked about with, it's funny because there seems to be a lot of parallels, strangely enough, between the Carl Reiner month and this month, where I think they both have the same sensibility of earthquake, tremor.
Yeah.
In terms of jokes.
Yeah.
And Python, talking about the blank screen at the end.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's like, it's funny, it's not funny, it's funny again, it's not funny again. And then it's funny again.
And then you're wondering what the hell is going on.
Right, and it's a tricky thing.
You begin to think that something actually is wrong with the movie.
Yes, and it stops before you get totally pissed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's that kind of... That timing is tricky because you don't want to completely piss off the audience.
I will say that when it finally changed the music, and for the 10th iteration of the same cycle, I was at the point where I was like, how long are they going to have this go?
Yeah.
I just want to see how long they can make it happen.
Yeah.
And then when the music changed, I was kind of sad.
Yes, exactly. But, so creative, and the fact that they made this movie for under $500,000 is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, look, yes, back then you could do it, but even back then...
I mean, obviously, they wanted to have a huge battle at the end, and they couldn't.
No.
They literally could. They just didn't. They wanted to have horses. They couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they had no money for it.
But thank God they didn't have horses, because that coconut bullshit is one of the funniest things ever. It's so iconic.
That is the definition of Monty Python.
Yes.
Taking what they're given and making it as funny as can be.
Taking their negatives and turning them into net positives that would have been funnier than anything they could have done in a horse.
Anybody else would have just freaked out and been like, well, why are we doing this movie? We can't do this movie without horses.
But mean, the fact that they dismount the horses is hilarious. I mean, the whole thing is so hilarious. They know,
of course,
that it's coconuts because they have the whole
talk about. The first thing the French guy says is, "Where'd you get those coconuts?
Where'd you get those coconuts?"
He's like, "What?
Hey, maybe a swallow."
Yeah, and then it starts the whole thing, the whole long running joke about the swallows.
Well, maybe if it was a South American swallow, but that's not what we're saying. We're just saying a normal swallow. That's the arguments about the minutia, about the arguments about nothing that makes any sense, and then the fact that they bring back his knowledge of sparrows.
Yeah, is what saves him at the end. Essentially.
What? It's your favorite color.
Is it African sparrow?
I don't know. Anyway, I could just sit here and do lines for the entire time.
This movie, I knew jokes from this movie before I ever saw this movie.
Of course.
That's how deep into the consciousness of the world it was.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I had heard people quoting this movie.
Yeah.
And when I finally saw the movie, it was like, oh, that's what a shrubbery is.
Back in the early 80s, Monty Python was kind of a comedy nerd secret.
Yeah.
They weren't super mainstream.
No.
People didn't, they were popular, but popular in certain circles.
Sure.
They weren't just like, Ed Sullivan mainstream,
No, they tried that and they failed.
Right, because it's, Americans are dumb. But it was like a secret club.
Yeah.
Being a Python fan. And, you would know. Certain people, with a little drop of a tongue, a little bit of a...
You say one word, and then someone's like,
silly walks. And like I said, I had that one school that had the group of nerds, the Gumby Club, the Society of Gumbies, the Gumby Club. But yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about this last week, and we'll keep talking about it. There's never been, and there never will be, a comedy group that is so solid, so tight, so funny, so well woven together, so complementary, that they can do anything.
Yeah. Stuff like Shaun of the Dead wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Holy Grail.
Oh, no, of course
because
not.
they play this movie straight.
Yeah.
It's funny as hell, but every character is playing it not for laughs.
Well, Airplane wouldn't be around if it weren't for them. Because that's the thing, is you look at comedy before then... not all comedy, but a lot of it is very goofy and very...
Yeah, it's very...
we're making a comedy!
Very obvious, yeah.
This is, we're making a comedy.
Yes, it's very straight.
And not to say that there aren't huge, silly, ridiculous bits. The three-headed knight.
Yeah, I mean, all of it is ridiculous.
Yes.
But that's the brilliancy of it, is that... They don't play it that they don't come up and go, oh my God, there's a three-headed knight. That's weird. They're just like, oh, that's the knight that has to stop us from doing the thing. We need to help him get a shrubbery and then we can move on.
Right.
It's just so utterly ridiculous on its face.
It really is. And in the most wonderful way. The most wonderful way. It was so much fun watching this film again. I mean, I've seen it a ton of times. Good. But it's probably been about 10 years since I've seen it.
God, I will say the Blu-ray that I got, it looked gorgeous.
It really did.
Man.
I'm usually not a fan of Blu-rays for older movies, but they didn't do what I hate, which is like upscale. Yeah. They still have the grain in it. They still have the film in it. They didn't make it look like a video.
No.
So it was a great transfer. It was really fun to watch. God, this month is so great in terms of reigniting comedy. Man.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. It's hilarious.
All right, well, let's get into it.
All right.
Take yourself back to 1975. March 30th, on Easter Sunday in Hamilton, Ohio, James Rupert murdered his mother, his brother and sister-in-law, and the couple's 8 children, ranging in age from 4 to 17 years old. Rupert surrendered to police and was later sentenced to 2 life terms in prison.
Oh, my bad.
It's just, That's
a funny story.
I was caught off guard by him killing 8 kids. Like, it's crazy.
Man.
A family annihilators, woo!
2 life terms doesn't seem like enough. Should get 8 for all
well,
the kids.
Yeah, he should get like 8,000 years and then never, ever, it's like you're never getting out.
Well, that's a fun story.
Here's some rope, just go hang yourself.
I don't think I've heard of the...
James Rupert?
James Rupert.
I gotta look more into him because I don't know why he did this, but it fascinated me.
Well, from what I heard... The egg salad was a little...
It was a little off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little funky.
I told you not to use that old mayo.
You kept it out too late. Killing all your
It
kids!
caused him to go crazy.
Jeez, well, he was very particular about his
He had a worm in his brain.
He did. Yeah.
March 31st, the 635th and final original episode of the long-running TV series Gunsmoke, titled The Sharecroppers, was telecast. After originally being a radio series, the show had started on television on September 10th, 1955, and ran for 20 seasons.
It's crazy. I didn't realize it was still on in the 70s.
Yeah, it ran for quite a while. April 1st.
20 years?
20 years, in fact. Yeah. April 1st, the American Freedom Train began its tour of the United States in celebration of the United States bicentennial, starting with a display in Wilmington, Delaware, and then proceeding westward. After reaching San Diego on January 14th, the train began its return trip, stopping in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on July 4th, 1976, and finishing its tour on December 31st in Miami. In all, 7 million visitors would see the train and its exhibits.
I wonder if we went. I can't remember, but since it was in San Diego.
Yeah, I probably.
We might have gone.
It's the Freedom Train. Let's all hop on that Freedom Train.
Parents are about educational things sometimes.
Yeah. April 3rd, Monty Python, The Holy Grail is released in theaters. So in January of 1973, shortly after the end of the third series of Monty Python's Flying Circus, the group wrote the first draft of Monty Python and The Holy Grail.
Nice.
In that draft, half of the film was set in the Middle Ages, with the other half set in present day. After deciding to focus the script on the quest for the Holy Grail, they wrote that the Grail would be found at Harrods in London.
Hilarious.
Terry Jones had the idea of eliminating the modern part of the story and just focusing on the Middle Ages. Ironically, this left a huge gap in the script, as they didn't actually ever find the Holy Grail.
Nice.
The group thought the letdown of an anticlimax was hilarious.
So they had this planned.
They knew.
Okay.
They knew from the beginning. Yeah. They had a hard time incorporating some of the non-Holy Grail scenes into the Middle Ages script, so writing took longer than usual for the group. They eventually had a full story by the fifth draft.
It's a lot of drafts.
And we'll talk more about Terry Jones next week, but it makes sense that he wanted it to be set in the Middle Ages because he was a huge history nerd.
Nice.
Huge history nerd.
Nice. Just like Conan O'Brien.
Yeah. Despite Cleese leaving Monty Python's Flying Circus after the third series ended in January of 1973, he was still friendly with everyone and looked forward to shooting the movie.
Great.
To finance the film, the Pythons turned to rock stars like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin because no studio would fund the film, and the rock stars saw it as a
good tax write-off
because the top rate of UK income tax was
as high as 90%
at the time. Led Zeppelin were huge fans of the show, often stopping recording while in the studio to watch the show together.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious. The entire original budget of £175,350, or about $410,000 in 1974, was provided by 8 investors. Led Zeppelin invested £31,500, Pink Floyd £21,000, Jethro Tull's Ian Anderson £6,300.
Cheapskate.
Holy Grail's co-producer Michael White funded £78,750.
Nice.
Heartaches, a cricket team founded by lyricist Tim Rice, funded £5,250.
Yeah.
And 3 record companies, Island Records with £21,000, Chrysalis Records at £6,300, and Charisma Records with £5,250, the record label that had released Python's early comedy albums.
You know, Jethro Tull was going to give more, but his flute budget was...
He had to buy 145 more flutes.
Yeah, it was crazy.
With financing in place, they set off to shoot their first film.
Nice.
Yeah. So our first in-depth look at the Pythons will be 2 of the boys from Cambridge, Graham Chapman and John Cleese, who almost exclusively wrote together.
Cool.
Graham Chapman was born in Lister in 1941, the son of a policeman. Fun fact, of all the professions they used in Monty Python's Flying Circus, policeman was the most used at 51 times, with politician coming in second at 20. Chapman grew up very poor, with one of his earliest memories was seeing the remains of Polish airmen who had suffered an airplane accident near Leicester.
Wow, that's a good memory.
Yeah.
It's called trauma.
He's said this memory stayed with him constantly.
Yeah, because he was traumatized.
Traumatized
by it.
Traumatized. Yeah.
Walk it off. I mean, back then, you would see the most horrible shit, and people would be like, it's life, baby.
That happens.
Get used to it.
In grammar school, Chapman showed an affinity for science, sports, and dramatics, being singled out for playing Mark Antony in a production of Julius Caesar.
Nice. He was a popular boy.
He was. He was very handsome, too. He was a very handsome man.
He was.
In 1959, Chapman started attending Cambridge and became a member of the Cambridge Footlights and began writing with John Cleese.
Cambridge Footlights is a comedy group. at Cambridge.
It is. It is. After graduating, he toured with the Cambridge Footlights in New Zealand, deferring his medical studies for a year.
Medical studies?
Yes. Oh, yes. He did attend St. Bartholomew's Medical College, but was torn about pursuing medicine or performing. Cleese recruited Chapman to write with him for David Frost, a prominent TV host. He also wrote and performed with Marty Feldman.
Love Marty Feldman.
Oh, he's so good.
Marty Feldman from Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
A lot of Mel Brooks movies.
Igor, he played?
Igor.
Oh, sorry, Igor.
Frankenstein.
Well,
I'm
Igor.
not Igor, I'm Igor.
Chapman showed much success as a writer and performer, but still wasn't sure he wanted to give up his medical career.
Because he grew up poor, and medical career is a guaranteed way to make money and take care of your family.
I am sure his parents were like, please just get a medical degree.
We're starving. Please.
After his stint with Marty Feldman, he actually finished his studies and became a professionally registered doctor.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
No wonder he was an alcoholic.
He continued to write and perform for various satirical shows and never really used his doctor's license.
Okay.
Except for, we'll find out next week, on Life of Brian.
Oh.
Yeah. Chapman and Cleese continued their writing partnership, having written together for almost 10 years by the time Monty Python's Flying Circus had started. Despite being equal partners, Cleese thought that Chapman contributed fairly little in the way of writing. He said,
"He would always come in, say something marvelous, and then drift off in his own mind."
What the other members of the group loved about Chapman was that he had an intuition for what was funny.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a comedy group, it's very difficult to gauge stuff. Right?
Yes.
And if the worst is if you have one person that is not funny or not a good writer, and they're always pushing. And this didn't happen to us.
Yeah.
But if somebody's pushing, it's happened in other groups.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. There's nothing worse than somebody with really bad comedy intuition.
But what if he didn't have any legs? What does that do? What does that do for anything?
Why? How is this funny?
But having somebody that can take something to the next level is incredible.
Oh, my God. Well, that's the thing. And that was one of the beauties that we had was, regardless of whatever personal issues or whatever, when it came to the work was sacrosanct. And everybody was about making it better. And there was no ego when it came to improving sketches or casting and that kind of. I mean, when it came to the work, great.
Yeah.
It was just everything outside of it.
That was, it's funny, because the one sketch comedy group I was involved in, the couple times I sat in writing meetings, it was the exact opposite.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God.
Well, I mean, there were fights and stuff, but it was like, it was never about, well, I need more lines, or I want my joke in here.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there was a lot of, well, I think this is funny, and the other person going, oh, I don't think it's funny. And then they would just stare at each other.
I think I know who these people are.
Yep. Chapman would often push a bit that wasn't working into something that would. For example, the Dead Parrot sketch was something that originated in a previous show that Chapman and Cleese had worked on, but involved a man upset that his toaster stopped working and the shopkeeper not believing it was broken. So Chapman asked, what can we do to make this even funnier? And he came up with it being a parrot rather than a toaster.
That is hilarious, too.
Because that is the key, is who's going to not believe the parrot's dead?
Well, exactly. And it's like, look. Nobody would be quoting the toaster sketch 50 years later.
No.
56 years later.
Brilliant plumage, the Norwegian blue. Chapman was delighted to find out when the show aired, medical students at St. Bartholomew's would crowd around TVs at bars to watch it.
Nice. His old buddies.
He was popular. Chapman was frequently late for rehearsing or recording, leading to the other Pythons calling him
the late Graham Chapman. Prophetic.
Come back later.
Bite you in the ass, Pythons.
Yeah. The other Pythons all agreed that they thought that Chapman was the best actor among them.
He's a great actor.
This led to him playing the lead in Holy Grail and Life of Brian.
He was very subtle. It's strange because at first glance you're like, no, he's not going to be that great, and he's not that great an actor.
No.
But then you listen to it, and he really is.
Oh, he's brilliant.
And you need, and not that the other guys aren't brilliant, but you need a really good actor to anchor the project.
To be the straight guy, essentially.
Yeah, to give it an air of reality in the midst of all this insanity.
Right.
You know, so he has to be the straight man, but also hilarious straight man.
How many times he would turn to somebody and go, shut up!
Shut up! Shut up!
Shut up! So, and I will say that of the six of them, he definitely had the most, like, marquee looks. Like, he was definitely the
Sure.
most, like, handsome of them.
Well, I mean, they all look like cartoon characters.
I know, but I don't. Maybe I'm just attracted to Michael Chapman or Graham Chapman. Sorry.
Maybe. He's fine. His hairline was a little weird, and his eyes were crazy, but I don't know. I always thought Eric Idle was the cute one.
Wow, really?
Yeah, he was like the...
I could see that.
I mean, see, you want to cuddle him.
Every time he's in that red coat and he's being the little smarmy...
He's just want to give him a cuddle. You know?
Okay, you sold me.
And Michael Palin, too. He just seems like the sweetest guy.
Michael Palin is like somebody you just want to hang out with.
He does Sad Puppy...
Oh, God.
so well.
I would so love just to hang out with him for like 5 hours. Just 5 hours. No more, no less.
Look, Michael Palin, to me, my favorite, I think, is Michael Palin.
Oh, yeah.
And it fluctuates. It always was, for me, it was always between Eric Idle and Michael Palin.
Yeah.
And not that I didn't love the other guys completely, but for some...
Yeah.
But those two, I identified with the most, I think.
Yeah.
Comedically.
Right. Kind of on your same wavelength.
Yeah.
You know, I get you.
Kind of cute, but not as funny as the other guys. That's me.
You know what's funny is that I'm pretty sure that it just depends for me on who I'm watching at the moment is my favorite.
Sure.
Because if they're on screen, they just somehow I'm like, oh, they're so good, they're my favorite.
Well, John Cleese, too. Everything that John
so
Cleese did post-Python, not everything, but so much of what he did post-Python was just brilliant to me.
Yeah.
And A Fish Called Wanda cemented my love for him.
So brilliant.
He deserved an Oscar for that performance.
Yeah.
As much as I hate the Academy
He
Award.
technically was nominated for an Oscar for it.
He should have won.
But it was for writing.
And Michael Palin, too. I mean, he was so good.
Poor Michael Palin in that movie.
And, what's his name? The American actor.
Kevin Kline.
Kevin Kline. Probably
Brilliant
the
Kevin
best
Kline.
performance he's ever given.
Oh, God, he's so good.
Oh, my God.
That movie's so good. We have to watch that again.
Yes! Yes. Well, we need to do, like, Python.
Post-Python.
Yeah, we
There
could
you
do
go.
Jabberwocky and...
Oh, God, not Jabberwocky.
We're doing Jabberwocky.
We should do, like, Eric the Viking and...
We could do Yellowbeard.
Yellowbeard. And
Jabberwocky.
A Fish Called Wanda.
And A Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah, not Jabberwocky.
Why not? You've never seen it.
I told you why I don't like Jabberwocky.
I think you need to face your fears, Adam.
I know. It's on Peacock. I almost watched it yesterday. Anyway.
You know, we're Gen X, baby. You got to walk it off. Face your fears.
It is a deep core memory of that man performing Jabberwocky, and it freaks my shit out.
The fact that it was in college makes it even more dramatic.
Dude, it was so... I've nenever been more uncomfortable in person watching somebody perform something.
Think he was like a serial killer or something?
He could have been.
Yeah.
It was just... He was a really nice guy.
Jabberwocky!
When he started reciting that, it was like he became a completely different person.
Well, it's a creepy poem.
I know, but it was... I mean, he did a good job with it, but, like, he was... Yeah, anyway. Yes, I need to watch the movie. I know. If anything, because I think it's the only movie of Terry Gilliam's I've never seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that Terry Gilliam?
Yeah, he directed it, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that was... like,
Terry Jones?
I thought that was...
No, Jones... We'll talk about Jones more next week, but, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're going to have you face your Jabberwocky fears.
Yeah.
And guess who's going to be the guest on the Stepdad Show? The guy who read the poem to you.
Oh, God. That would be amazing.
I've been in touch with him for months.
And he's here right now.
Surprise! I'm reading you a poem!
So in The Holy Grail, Chapman was the only actor to wear actual chainmail weighing 25 pounds while the rest of the cast wore painted wool.
Didn't even look like he was really wearing chainmail.
No, he wore it well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was just the headpiece and the shoulders. Unfortunately, while at Cambridge, Chapman started drinking heavily. This became a crutch for him, drinking constantly to calm his nerves while shooting Monty Python's Flying Circus.
He was an alcoholic. You can call it calming your nerves or whatever, but
yeah,
he's an alcoholic.
Sure.
And it sucks. I mean, it's out of his control and it sucks, but it's just like, you know, it's just the, I just have a little bit for this and that, I'm just a little.
As stated last episode, Chapman's alcoholism was part of the reason Cleese stopped working on the show.
That's really sad.
Yeah. Especially because they worked together for by that point, 12 or 13 years.
Yeah,
and
but you get sick of it. I mean, I get it.
You get to a point.
Yeah. And, as much as I've loved working with all the people I've loved working with, it gets to a point where with some partnerships, you just go as far as you can.
Yeah. When they went to shoot Holy Grail, Chapman discovered that there was no alcohol anywhere, and he got a really bad case of the DTs.
He must have shit when he found that out.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And you know who else shat? everybody else was like, oh, he's not going to be able to get any booze.
Yeah, yeah.
They were first like, yeah, but then they were like, oh no, this is going to be awful.
The first shot they were supposed to take was Chapman crossing the Bridge of Death, but his DTs were so bad they ended up having an assistant director put on his costume and cross the bridge in his place.
Because when he did it, the bridge kept going.
Everyone was deathly afraid to cross that thing, even though it was made by one of their own people. They were like, hell no.
Do you know how long of a drop it was?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think it was that far, but I mean,
well, it was a rickety looking bridge.
It was a very rickety looking bridge. But that doesn't mean Chapman didn't find ways to drink while he was there. Palin recalled a night where Chapman went out drinking with a local and stayed out until all hours drunk, trying desperately to wake up the other Pythons to hang out with him.
Come on, get up! Come and hang out with me!
Apparently it was some fisherman, and the guy, like, they met at a bar, and then he just went on a lake, and they drank for, like, hours out on a lake.
That's desperation. That reminds me of the story of John Belushi disappearing off the set of, what was it, Blues Brothers or something?
Yeah.
And Danny Aykroyd had to go find him. He found him in a house, passed out drunk.
What are you doing? Oh, yeah.
Could have a sandwich and a nap.
Chapman was openly gay and met his life partner David Sherlock in 1966 in Ibiza. He revealed he was gay to the public on a talk show in 1972, one of the first celebrities to openly embrace being gay.
That's very brave.
1972, man. Yeah.
Very brave, because there were still laws against sodomy back then.
Yeah. Chapman was aggressive in his support of gay rights, and the other Pythons were very supportive of him.
That's great.
They would often get letters, and they would respond back with, yeah, we found the gay guy. He's right here. Yeah. In 1971, Chapman and Sherlock adopted a 14-year-old runaway from Liverpool.
That sounds a little sketchy.
It's a little weird. I know. But I don't think there was anything untoward.
Well, the way it turned out makes it sound like there wasn't untoward.
Yeah. They contacted the boy's dad, and the dad agreed that it made more sense for Chapman to be his legal guardian.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, well, you've got money. I don't.
I don't care.
His son would eventually become Chapman's business manager.
Nice.
Sadly, the son died in 1992 from a heart attack at the age of 35.
Good Christ, man.
That's
my dad.
Yeah.
My dad died, I think, at 34 from a heart attack.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Happened back then.
Yeah.
People just smoked and drank and went on crazy diets, and I don't know what happened with this kid, but
no, I don't. Yeah, I'm guessing it was mostly genetic, but who knows? I mean, Chapman did stop drinking before filming The Life of Brian, afraid that he wouldn't be able to perform properly.
That's very responsible of him.
This is the movie where he would literally do, on Life of Brian, we'll talk more about this next week, but he would do nightly checkups on people because he was a doctor, and he made sure that everybody was healthy.
That's so awesome.
And he remained sober for the rest of his life.
That is incredible.
He realized how much it was affecting everything.
Yeah.
And was count his lucky stars that he didn't screw up the relationship with his comedy partners.
It's always
and got over it.
It is amazing. Look, addiction is a horrible disease, and people that overcome addiction like this and stay away from it for the rest of their life are basically curing themselves of a disease.
Yeah.
And that is a remarkable thing.
It's incredible.
And anybody who overcomes addiction deserves all the praise and admiration and congratulations that there are, because you're basically curing yourself of cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so incredibly rare, and it is so hard.
Oh yeah.
And he did it. He did it. He understood that the life he wanted was more important than the drink.
Sure.
And that's amazing.
I have nothing but respect for the people that have gone through the horrible disease of addiction.
Yeah. Chapman would go on to write a pirate movie, Yellowbeard, with the intention of his friend Keith Moon, drummer of The Who, starring as Long John Silver.
That would have been pretty awesome.
Oh my God. Apparently Keith Moon and Graham Chapman. I don't know why I keep calling him Michael.
I don't know.
Keith Moon and Graham Chapman were very close. They were very good friends.
Oh, nice.
Chapman began writing the script in 1975, but development was stalled in 1978 when Keith Moon died.
Oh.
The film would eventually be released in 1983 with Chapman as the lead and co-starring Peter Cook, John Cleese, Eric Idle, Spike Milligan, Cheech and Chong, and Marty Feldman.
I sort of remember this movie.
I hear Cheech and Chong and I think of the Corsican Brothers, and it's like, that's not this movie.
No.
I definitely don't think I've ever seen Yellowbeard.
Much like Jabberwocky and some of the other post-Pythons, it's flawed.
Yeah, not quite 100%.
But I have to say, I haven't seen this movie since it came out.
Right.
Or around the time it came out. So I would have to reserve judgment because I don't really remember much about it. And I get it confused with the Walter Matthau pirate movie.
Pirate?
Thank you.
Yes. Pirate?
Not to be confused with Pirates.
No.
Which is the Christopher Atkins horrible Pirates of Penzance adaptation with Christy McNichol, that I loved as a kid because I had horrible taste.
It was Marty Feldman's final film, as he died from a heart attack a few months before the release of the movie.
That broke my heart, man.
Yeah, Marty Feldman's brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. And not just because he had crazy effing eyes. The guy was hilarious.
No, he took his limitations and pushed through that adversity.
Yeah, and never shied away from making fun of himself.
No, not at all. He was brilliant.
Brilliant comedian.
In 1988, Chapman made a routine visit to a dentist who found a small malignant tumor on one of his tonsils, leading to both being removed via a tonsillectomy. The following year, it was discovered that the cancer had spread into Chapman's spinal column.
I've never heard of tonsil cancer.
It was another
tonsil
tumor.
hockey, but never tonsil cancer.
Another tumor was surgically removed from his spinal column. Chapman had several chemotherapy treatments and surgeries during the final month of his life, but ultimately the cancer was declared inoperable. According to his brother, Chapman was visibly upset by the death of his mother in July, by which that time he was terminally ill. Shortly afterwards, Chapman filmed scenes for the 20th anniversary of the first broadcast of Monty Python's Flying Circus, the final time he appeared on television. Chapman died on October 4th, 1989, at the age of 48.
That was devastating. Devastating.
At the time of his death, he was being visited by Sherlock, his brother John, and his sister-in-law, and fellow Pythons Palin and Cleese, the latter of whom had to be let out of the room to deal with his grief.
Yeah, best friends for like 30 years.
Best friend died.
Yeah.
He was apparently, like they literally had to carry him out.
Well,
he was just a big ball of mush.
I can relate about how horrifying that is. Anybody dying that young or younger, especially from cancer, it's watching a friend die of cancer. That is the most horrible thing I have ever gone through, and what it does to the body and what is left, that husk that you don't even recognize, is the cruelest thing. It is absolutely there's no words.
No, it's awful. It's just awful.
So I feel horrible for Cleese. I mean, he must have just
So, speaking of Cleese, Cleese was the son of an insurance salesman, and his original surname was Cheese, but his father thought it was embarrassing and officially had it changed to Cleese in 1923.
His father was right.
Yes.
I'm John Cheese.
The best decision his father ever made.
Although, John Cheese would have been so perfect for him.
I know.
John Cleese has an air of sophistication.
It does.
But Johnny Cheese.
John Cheese.
And Johnny Cheese.
In school, Cleese excelled at sports like cricket and boxing and was awarded a prize for English.
He's deceptively athletic. Like, for somebody as goony and tall and seemingly just like
very lanky.
Akimbo,
like he's like all legs and arms.
But you watch him do his silly walks and some of the stuff he does with his legs. It's walking on
the insides of his feet. That's insane.
Absolutely insane. And the fight that he has with, was it Chapman that he had the fight with in Grail?
It was Gilliam.
Gilliam, sorry. Yeah. The fight they did was great. I thought it was stunt guys.
No. They did, by the age of 13, Cleese was 6 feet tall. He was a big boy.
Poor guy.
At the age of 13, I can't even imagine.
Oh, my God. 13 is like the worst age to begin with.
It's so awkward anyway.
Well, you're getting like unannounced boners and acne.
Yeah,
and then,
when he got unannounced boners, they would poke people in the eye.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry.
Just pardon my boner.
It's just my cheese boner.
It's my tallywhacker. My cheese boner. Come on, Johnny Cheese, get your bone out of my face. My bad, sorry.
He eventually was accepted into Cambridge. He recalled that he went to the Cambridge Guildhall, where each university society had a stall, and went up to the Footlights stall, where he was asked if he could sing or dance. He replied,
"No."
As he was not allowed to sing at his school because he was so bad, and if there was anything worse than his singing, it was his dancing.
Nice.
He was then asked,
"Well, what do you do?"
And he replied,
"I make people laugh."
There you go.
And he does.
He does. He really does. He spent a lot of time writing and performing with the Cambridge Footlights, eventually becoming their registrar.
Nice.
Which is
like
kind of their de
director.
facto president. Yeah. Cleese was a scriptwriter as well as cast member for the 1963 Footlights review A Clump of Plinths.
Love it.
Such a Monty Python name.
Clump of Plinths.
The review was so successful at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival that it was renamed Cambridge Circus and taken to the West End in London, and then on a tour of New Zealand and Broadway, with the cast also appearing in some of the review sketches on The Ed Sullivan Show in October of 1964.
Circus, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Cleese stayed in America for a while, performing on and off Broadway.
Nice.
While there, he met Terry Gilliam and Connie Booth, an American actor. Booth and Cleese would get married in 1968.
Nice.
And they would eventually start writing together.
Are they still together now?
They are not.
Oh.
We'll get to that. Cleese was offered a writing job at BBC Radio, something he could do while still in America, but when one of his shows, I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again, became so popular, they opted to turn it into a television program, and Cleese moved back to the UK.
Oh, I wonder if he moved here for tax purposes.
It doesn't matter, because if you are a UK citizen and you live abroad, you still have to pay UK taxes.
Right.
And if you don't pay the UK taxes, the second you step foot on UK soil, they will take the money from you.
Well, what if you're dual citizen? Or what if you...
I assume then you pay both. Unless he became naturalized in America and revoked his UK citizenship.
I think most of these guys did, actually.
I think eventually Cleese did, yes. But yeah, it was a really big thing because Graham Chapman was the same way. Like, he became so concerned about the Monty Python's money because of the high taxes in the 70s.
Right.
Like, it was a huge deal. Like, it's part of the reason he ended up moving away. But
sure.
Yeah. In 1965, Cleese would start writing for The Frost Report, where he would work with Graham Chapman, Eric Idle, Terry Jones, and Michael Palin.
Strange how they were all kind of around the comedy circuit at that time.
Yeah. While on The Frost Report, Cleese gained good notoriety for performing in a sketch where he was very tall and the other actors were very short.
Nice. People are stupid.
It's
the tall man and the short people.
That's
very funny.
It's so hilarious. With Monty Python's Flying Circus underway in 1969, Cleese mostly wrote with Chapman. Cleese played a lot of authority figures, as he was the master of keeping a straight face.
Also, smart guys write smart comedy.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Cambridge is not a safety school. So,
well, I mean, technically, between Cambridge and Oxford, 5 of the 6 of them, Cambridge and Oxford, they're amazing schools.
Yes, and Chapman's a doctor, for Christ's sake.
And Cleese couldn't, I didn't include any of this, but he tried to get into Cambridge like 3 times and had to keep trying again before they let him in. Like, they're very strict about stuff.
You're too tall.
Yeah. Well, I think he was mostly it was because he mostly was focused on making people laugh.
Right.
That his studies kind of went downhill when
Yeah.
he was in preparatory school. Yeah. Although it's very weird the way they do entries and their degrees
Admission
and
system?
stuff. Yeah, the admissions and the degrees are set up so oddly in the UK. I don't know anything about it, so I left most of it out because I didn't want to have to explain all of it.
Can't be worse than here in America.
They have degrees like a 2-1 degree. Don't know what the hell that means. It's literally written down as 2:1. I have no idea.
Oh, yes.
It's ow. Anyway, it was just weird. It's just weird.
2 for 1.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Cleese grew restless during the second series of Monty Python's Flying Circus, and despite staying through the third series, left after Chapman's alcoholism became too much.
That was probably also, an easy out for him. Because I think he was getting bored.
He definitely comes off like a guy who knows what he wants.
Well, it's like Steve Martin. I think once you conquer something, move
Yeah,
on. And
yeah.
I think Cleese kind of has that mentality of
Yeah.
okay, we
He's
did
like,
this.
we already did this. Let's find something new.
Are we going to do it better? Probably not. It's going to just kind of be the same thing. I want to move on and do something completely different.
Yeah. True. Despite this, he was still very friendly with the group, hence his work with them on Monty Python, the Holy Grail.
Which is great because it is so difficult to remain on good terms with people that you break up with. Like, all the Los Chupacabras, all the rest of the Chups, well, we were friendly for a while.
Right.
It wasn't because of the group breakup that anybody stopped being. We didn't stop being friends because the group stopped.
Right.
There was, there's always like a transitory period where things are weird. But then,
sure.
it's like a marriage.
Yeah. Around the time of the Holy Grail, Cleese and his wife Connie Booth would create Faulty Towers, with both of them starring in it.
Again, we talked about this the last time. thought that show was on for like 20 years.
Initially, Fawlty Towers was a one-off with just 6 episodes airing in 1975.
Yeah.
6 episodes.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind.
Well, I think it was like the 90s. There was a time, I think it was early 90s, where these Brit comedies were exploding. Like Young Ones, Fawlty Towers, Blackadder.
A lot of it was because of MTV.
And Rowan Atkinson, too. Like
the end of the 80s, MTV showed a bunch of BBC comedies. Yeah. Like from the last 20 years.
Well, that's the thing, is like because they showed Young Ones and Python, then these other things got brought into the fold, too. I think Comedy Central was very key in bringing these.
Yes.
Across the pond.
That's how I discovered Black Books, which is one of my favorite BBC or British comedies. I don't know if it was on the BBC, but British comedies, because it aired. And again, it was they only had at that time 6 episodes, and they played them all the time.
Well, that's how I got to know Rowan Atkinson. Was through Blackadder and stuff that he did, and it's and then it exploded, and then Rowan Atkinson became a huge star,
and now I watch more British TV than I do anything else.
True. They do good stuff.
They do. It's funny. Cleese and Booth divorced in 1978, with Booth pretty much retreating from public life.
Oh.
Cleese, who remained close with Booth, eventually convinced her to do a second series of Fawlty Towers, which aired in 1979.
Nice.
Which, again, 12 episodes of that show. That was it.
Yeah.
Like 12 episodes over 4 years.
Crazy.
It just blows my mind.
Connie Booth was also in...
Yeah, she was in
Holy
this.
Grail. Mm-hmm. She was the witch.
Yeah, the one with the
duck with the fake nose,
and the fake nose, and the one wart.
Yeah,
and then fair enough.
They put the nose on me.
Well,
we did do the nose.
She was so great,
and we dressed her, but that was it. She's a witch.
So after Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Cleese would continue to work with the Pythons in different aspects. He appeared in Time Bandits in 1981, directed by Terry Gilliam. He would appear in Yellowbeard in 1983, written by Chapman and co-starring Eric Idle. In 1988, he would write and star in A Fish Called Wanda, co-starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Kline, and Michael Palin.
One of the best comedies ever.
So funny. He would be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, but would lose, unfortunately, to Ronald Bass and Barry Morrow for Rain Man. Rain Man's fine, but this movie's better.
Definitely better. Better movie.
And to be honest, I think the writing is fine in Rain Man, but if it wasn't for Dustin Hoffman, that movie would be nothing.
No, definitely best part. Definitely best part of the movie.
He would win a BAFTA for Best Actor for his role in A Fish Called Wanda.
Well, he should have. It was the part where he is taking his clothes off and reciting Italian while Jamie Lee Curtis just writhes in ecstasy. And he's like flipping his socks up and everything. And he's just like singing in Italian, I believe. He's just brilliant. We call it the Ghostbusters 2 effect.
Yeah, I just recently talked about that with somebody. And they were like, Ghostbusters 2. And I was like, it's a better movie than you remember. Yep. And they're like, actually you say that. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Hey, man, I am the convert.
Yeah.
I hated that movie, and now I enjoy it quite a bit.
Such a good movie. Cleese's other notable appearances include appearing in the first 2 Harry Potter films as Nearly Headless Nick.
Nearly Headless Nick.
And I gotta be honest, I was a little upset that they didn't include him in the last 8 movies or whatever. Nearly Headless Nick is in the books, but I think they just cut most of that stuff out. Yeah.
Well, they had to cut some stuff out.
Well, the first 2 movies were definitely a little more kid friendly, like more for kids.
Right.
So like it was more about that, I think, and establishing the school and stuff and all that. But yeah, but I think they just didn't write. They wrote the character out. I think there's only one book where he actually has like a big scene, but they took it out.
Isn't that character's in the Hogwarts Legacy? Isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's. I don't think it's played by Cleese, but
it's possible. I didn't look that up. I don't know. He's done a bunch of video games, so it's very possible.
Yeah, it would be great.
He appeared as R in the 1999 Pierce Brosnan James Bond film The World Is Not Enough, and then appeared as Q in the very next 2002 Pierce Brosnan James Bond film Die Another Day.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I don't remember the significance of R. I remember Q's the gadget guy, but I don't remember if they had an explanation as to why he went from R to Q.
Well, no, R was the STD guy. So he was the guy that got all of the penicillin and all of the cures for when James Bond inevitably got all the STDs from all the sex he was having.
Okay.
R for remedial or remedy.
So an easier way to say that is you don't know.
No, not at all.
Okay. I don't. Part of me wants to watch these 2 movies again because it seems odd that they would have him play the 2 very different characters.
I think it was the same character.
Technically, it was the same character.
I think it was.
He just, yeah.
And I don't quote me on any of this, but I think that the guy who played Q died, and then
I think now that you say that, that sounds
the
right.
same character was made Q because of whatever.
Right,
but I could be wrong. I haven't seen those movies in a million
I don't
years.
know. Neither of them are very good, so it's...
No, the
Pierce Brosnan time was not the greatest.
it was better than the Timothy Dalton times.
That is 100% true.
No, and I love Timothy Dalton.
He's great.
His career now,
He just was not a good Bond.
brilliant. He was great in Yellowstone. He was great in not Suicide Squad. What is that weird? The Doomsday Patrol or the Doom Patrol?
Doom Patrol, yeah.
He
Doom
was
Patrol.
great in Doom Patrol. Great third act he's been having.
Was it Doom Patrol? Yeah. Starting in 1991, Cleese also started a prolific voiceover career, appearing in American Tail Fievel Goes West. He also voiced characters in
The Swan Princess, George of the Jungle, The Magic Pudding, Robert Benigni's Pinocchio, George of the Jungle 2, Shrek 2, Valiant, Charlotte's Web, Shrek the Third, Igor, Planet 51, Winnie the Pooh, The Big Year, A Liar's Autobiography, Get Squirrely, Trolls, and Spamalot.
Yeah, he did the voice for God in Spamalot.
Oh, nice.
If you ever saw it on stage.
Oh, very cool.
And A Liar's Autobiography was actually based off the Graham Chapman autobiography called A Liar's Autobiography.
Oh.
Actually, it was called A Liar's Autobiography Part 6. Nice. But yeah, it was about him growing up and him battling with alcoholism and stuff.
Not to be confused with Leonard Part 6.
Yeah, no, God, no.
Amazing movie. Oh, no, Robert Benigni's Pinocchio.
Oh, creepy. Creep-tastic.
Nobody has gone from, like,
Oh my God.
Hollywood favorite to shunned quicker than Roberto Benigni and his ridiculous. I loved him so much. I loved him so much in Down by Law.
Yeah.
He was so good. And then just running, it's like, dude, stop it. Stop it. You're the most annoying human on the planet.
One less rail of cocaine, man.
Yeah, don't walk around on the backs of seats, you moron.
So weird.
Oh my God, people are like, enough of you.
It was just like, all right, you've overstayed your welcome just a hair.
Yeah, clown.
You're done.
Get the F out of the country. Oh man, I was never for deportations until him.
So Cleese also did a bunch of video games, voiceover for video games, including 3 Monty Python video games,
Weird.
which came out in the late 80s to early 90s. It's super weird.
Yeah, are they text-based or?
No. We'll talk more about him in the Step Dad
Okay.
show. Fable 3, he did a voice in Fable 3, and he appeared in 7 Elder Scrolls Online games.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think he was playing the same character through most of them.
Sure. I remember him in Fable 3.
Yeah.
I mean, because his voice is so distinctive. It's not like, he's doing...
Right.
It's disguised.
No, it's John Cleese. It's obviously John Cleese.
You're paying for John Cleese.
Yeah. He can most recently be seen in The Palace, directed by Roman Polanski, and LOL, Last One Laughing, a Japanese game show starring comedians as himself.
Weird. Roman Polanski's still making movies?
Yes, he is.
All right.
He did The Palace. Came out in, I think, 2023.
Did anybody see that?
I didn't know it existed
I
until
didn't
right now,
either.
so nope.
John Cleese runs around with some despicable characters.
And if you ever have a chance, watch Last One Laughing. They have different countries do different versions.
Oh.
The British version premiered a couple years ago, and it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Oh, really?
It is just essentially just a bunch of comedians in a room trying to make each other laugh.
Oh, nice.
And they get like time and like they do on stage, and it is so ridiculous and so funny.
That sounds great. I'll look.
It's
on
on Prime, Amazon Prime.
Prime.
You can watch it on Prime.
What's it called again?
Last One Laughing. But they also have, I think, pretty sure Prime has literally every single country that has ever done one of these shows.
Oh.
It is insane.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah. So production for the Holy Grail was draught with issues from day one. The only sync camera they had sheared during the first take, meaning they couldn't capture any sound.
Jesus.
That was the day they filmed Chapman trying to cross the Bridge of Death.
Well, luckily you didn't really need any sound.
No, that's why they opted to just do that stuff. The funniest take during the Castle of Anthrax scene couldn't be used because of a modern coat that could be seen in frame.
Damn it, John!
That was
Get your coat out of frame!
with the nuns, yeah. Terry Jones and Terry Gilliam both wanted to direct, despite neither of them having directed a feature film before.
Always a good idea to have two directors. he said facetiously.
They argued a lot, as Jones mostly just cared for the acting, and Gilliam was a stickler for anything technical.
Which you would think is a match made in heaven.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like, well, okay, you deal with the comedy, and I'll deal with the design and all that.
It's like the Coen brothers. One's more of a director, one's more of a producer.
But part of the problem is that Gilliam would constantly make them redo stuff. According to Terry Jones, the scene with Lancelot and Concord required 20 takes.
A lot of that, too, is lack of confidence.
Yeah, of course. Gilliam is very well known for doing hundreds of takes.
Well, he's also a man of minutia, you know? And when you're a animator and you can control everything...
Yes.
It's
yes.
probably very difficult to have to deal with things that you can't control.
Yeah.
You know, when you're so used to that. And I'm going to take a wild, crazy guess here that Terry Gilliam might be a bit of a control freak.
No, yeah, just a bit. I always think back to 12 Monkeys and the first time that you see Bruce Willis in the future, where he's like getting prepped for the time machine. There's a scene establishing scene. It's just a slow push in. Lasts maybe 5 seconds, but there's a hamster running around on a wheel, and they literally shot that for 3 days because he couldn't get the hamster to run in the timing that he wanted. Look, he shot literally 30,000 feet of film just to get that hamster running.
Unfortunately, look, not a lot of people can get away with that crap.
Yeah.
But he's a genius. Yeah. And he is and we talked about this during the Munchausen show. Listen to that. There's nobody like him.
No.
Nobody.
No.
And from the first frame of anything he does, you know it's a Terry Gilliam project.
Yeah.
And so I get it. But I think what's so interesting to me is this is his first film directing experience. Yeah. And it's crazy that he's sharing it with somebody else. And for some reason, I think the two of them seems like a weird combo.
I agree. They seem like they have very, very different directing styles.
Look, Terry Jones is like such a weird anomaly about the group because he kind of disappears into the background sometimes, but but he is deceptively kind of the funniest guy sometimes.
It's funny because when he's the dude with the whatever the knight is, with the shield in front of his face, the thing in front of his face, I literally had to look it up because I was like, that is Terry Jones, right?
Yeah. Well, he is a chameleon.
Because he just slit, and I was like, he looks so different, acts so different.
Oh, well, if you look at that character versus the prince that's getting married,
I had to look it up and be like, oh no, that is Terry Jones,
because he is the most chameleon of the bunch. He is the most unrecognizable. He can disappear into his characters.
So crazy.
Yeah, he is the one that's. I guess what I'm saying is he's the least Terry Jonesy of the. All of them kind of seem like themselves, even within their characters.
Right.
Which shows that they're more writers than performers. Not that they're not bad.
No.
But he, more than anyone else, seems to disappear within the characters, whether it's the show or the movie.
Right.
That exactly what you're saying. You're like, is that him? Or is that
I
else?
literally was like, well, I know that's not Cleese.
Yeah.
I know that's not Chapman.
He's brilliant.
I know it's like, no, it must be Terry Jones.
Yeah. He deceptively was just so good because the other guys are, especially like Cleese, is such a big personality.
Yeah.
You know? And he plays a lot of introverts, smaller characters, and quieter. I mean, yes, he does have the characters like this.
Yeah, sure.
But his male characters, a lot of times,
they're just very stuffy and
yeah. But I just love him so much. Just so goddamn talented, all these guys.
So the Lancelot and Concord scene took 20 takes. While the second take was perfect, the cameraman noticed there was a lot of smoke in the background. And at one point, an annoyed John Cleese quipped,
"Well, is the smoke funny enough?"
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that John Cleese was always the first one to speak up, to be like, this is taking too fucking long.
Because he's tall.
This is taking too long. He just looks over everyone. It's like, don't make me stick my cheese bone on your face.
Come on, John Cheese.
Stop it. You know it's Cleese.
At one point, Gilliam made Michael Palin redo a scene where he crawled through cold mud many, many times, and on the final take, the usually unflappable Palin finally blew up and screamed at Gilliam.
Yeah, well, I know exactly what the scene is.
Yeah. It's at the beginning of his tale.
That's the kind of crap. That's on you, dude. You're not filming it correctly. You know what I mean? It's like if you're making a guy do this kind of bullshit over and over again, that's on you. I'm not cool with that kind of crap. As somebody who's gone through that crap,
sure.
It's just like, dude, frame it or whatever, but stop.
So both John Cleese and Michael Chapman were so impressed with Palin's freaking out that they gave him a round of applause.
Nice. Well, I'm sure they were all. Look, you're on location, away from so far away from everything that you can't get booze.
Right.
Barely.
Right.
You know, it's got to be a very stressful time. You have no money. You're trying to make this incredibly ambitious film with, less than $500,000, less than 200,000 pounds. And you got two first-time directors. Two directors is always going to be a mess anyway.
Unless you're the Coen brothers.
Right.
Which
exception proves the rule.
They know how to delegate between the two.
Well, they delineate the power. Yeah. That's the thing. Is every time I've co-directed something, I've made sure that we know our roles before we get on set.
You established that from the very beginning.
Yeah, because the worst thing you could do is be like, okay, I want you to do this. And then the other director's like, no. I think you should probably do this. No, I said to do this. And then it's like, then the actor doesn't know what he's doing. Then he doesn't have any confidence because you're arguing all the time. Yeah, so if you don't have...
You have to be on the same page.
Your roles have to be completely delineated before you get on set, or it's going to be a mess.
Right. Speaking of mud, being that they were mostly shooting out in the nowhere of Scotland, the cast always raced back to the hotel as there were limited showers, and they were usually all covered in mud by the end of the shooting day.
Ugh, so it just sounds awful.
There was at least one person that didn't get a shower every day.
It was always Palin.
I'm sure he's just fine.
Shower.
Palin said,
I remember one day when we'd been doing a lot of crouching in the castle in the background. Wait, sorry. I remember one day we'd been doing a lot of crouching with the castle in the background. And Terry Gilliam asked us to crouch once more because there was a lovely shaft of sunlight coming and catching John's helmet. John went absolutely berserk, saying,
I'm not waiting for the shaft of light to strike my helmet. We've been here for 4 hours. We've crouched, and it's cold. What are you waiting for? The moon and the stars to raise themselves around my head?
You know that John Cleese had so many outbursts.
Oh, my God. Well, when you're miserable and you're waiting, you're waiting.
Patience is so thin, man. So thin.
Making movies is all about waiting around and doing nothing. If you're an actor.
Yeah.
If you're like in the crew, you're always working. But if you're an actor, it's waiting. And if you're waiting in mud or water, then you're going to get pissed.
Yeah.
We're only human.
I know. Gilliam recalled,
when we did the scene, we were at the battlements, and the cow was thrown over it and Matt shot, and the only way to do it was to dig a hole in the ground and have them on their knees. John was going apeshit because he was uncomfortable. I finally said, "F it. It's your sketch, you wrote it, I'm just trying to make it work. And this is a tricky shot here." And so I said, "F you," and went off in a snit and laid down in the grass saying, "I'm not going to direct this."
Well...
I mean, honestly, he's kind of like, well, you wrote this, man. I get it.
I get it, too. I had the exact... You remember when we were shooting that pilot, things build up on set, especially with friends.
Oh, yeah.
And good friends. And, if you're there doing something as a favor to somebody, if you're doing something, and then it happens. There are always going to be blow-ups and blow-outs because nerves are fried. People are stressed.
Yeah.
People are worrying about their performance or worrying about everything. There's so much going on when making something like this that inevitably you can't get through unscathed.
I was shooting a pilot with for a friend, like a friend had hooked me up with a guy, and I was essentially producing this pilot, and I was trying so hard to get this guy. He was the money guy, and he was the director.
Right.
And I was trying so hard to keep him on task, and I kept having to get him, like, reeling him back in. Of like, come on, man.
Yeah.
We're at this school. We're at a location. Like, we only have so much time.
Yeah.
We need to get this done.
Yeah.
And at one point, he looked at me, and he goes, I am the director. And I literally was like, you are. And then I left. I quit. I was just like, nope, we're done.
Well, look, that's the thing. Filmmaking is a 100% collaborative effort.
Yeah. If you can't understand that I'm trying to make your project work, then there's no way we can meet. And that's it.
Look, there are maybe 3-4 auteurs.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
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 And I guarantee you that guy was not one of them.
No, he was definitely not.
And if you're not, there's a difference between having a vision and being an asshole. Because if you have a vision and you're a good director, then you can communicate that vision and everybody works towards it.
Yes.
But if you're a crap director and insecure, anybody who's coming at you with suggestions or things to make it better, you're going to be a dick about it. And you were absolutely 100% right to quit.
Oh yeah, and I was very calm about it. I was just like, look, man, obviously we're not going to see eye to eye on this, and like, I wish you the best luck.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to find somebody else.
Yeah, I've done that. I've had to fire people. You know, it's just, if it's not going to work if you can't work together. It's never going to get better.
The only person that has ever been able to get away with that was Stanley Kubrick, because he very famously said, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want.
Yeah.
And then he would shoot everything until he got what he wanted.
Well, and people let him get away with it.
And because he was genius.
Right, but it's also, you know, I mean, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that he did.
Oh, no. I would never, ever want to work with him.
No.
Never.
I mean, poor Shelley Duvall was traumatized for the rest of her life.
Oh, my God.
Nothing is worth that.
No.
There's not, you gotta suffer for your art, but F you, man. It's a Stephen King movie.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus.
So the production was also hampered heavily by the tiny budget. The coconuts being used as galloping horses was due to lack of funds to get real horses.
So serendipitous, though, because it is, as much as I hate using the word, iconic.
Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
The best use of imagination ever.
Yeah, totally.
Who thought of the coconuts?
I don't know.
And then using the coconuts throughout the movie as a callback joke.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that with real horses.
They did manage to get a real dead sheep to fling over the wall, which apparently was the most disgusting smell any of them had smelt.
Yeah, guess what? I got us a sheep.
What?
I got us a sheep to throw over the wall.
The production designer was giddy that they got a real dead sheep and he could dress it up and throw it over the wall.
What's wrong with you, Mick?
No, it was a real sheep. You got it. I'm going to dress it up, throw it over the wall.
God, it reeks, man. Just throw it out.
No, you'll see.
It didn't make a difference.
No, it didn't. I mean, could you have picked out the real dead sheep? No.
Yeah, it's so fast.
The ending came about because they didn't have the budget for a large-scale battle scene. Arthur's army was made up of 175 students who were paid £2 sterling each and given a meal for the day.
I would have done it.
Hell yes, I would have done it. The scene in which the knights fight the rabbit of Caerbannog, a real white rabbit, was used, switched with puppets for the killings. The bite effects were done with special puppetry by both Gilliam and SFX technician John Horton.
That is another scene that lives in infamy.
Oh my God. Yes, the killer rabbit.
I'll take care of this.
You had us all worked up! According to Gilliam, the rabbit was covered with red liquid to simulate blood, though its owner did not want the animal dirty and was kept unaware.
Well, then don't put it in a movie.
The liquid was difficult to remove from the fur, with everyone attempting to scrub the rabbit clean.
All right, it's my turn. Come on, I'll get it.
Gilliam thought, in hindsight, the crew could have just purchased their own rabbit instead.
We should have just bought a rabbit,
It's
guys.
like, yeah, too little too late, Terry.
Thanks, Terry. Why didn't you say this 4 hours ago?
Regardless,
Keep scrubbing, Terry.
the rabbit was unharmed. He was just a little more pink.
Yeah.
Issues continued into screenings even. When this movie was screened at the Cannes Film Festival, the audience laughed at the opening credits.
Nice.
However, the projector stopped and the audience just roared with laughter, thinking it was all part of the movie.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it turned out there was a bomb scare, and firemen came in and made everyone in the cinema go outside.
This is great. This is part of the whole thing.
Bomb scare. We're brilliant, Monty Python.
It just makes the ending even more horrifying.
Yes. Well, it was a scare. There was no real bomb.
Despite this, when the film officially opened in New York before dawn of the second day after it opened, the line for tickets was around the block.
Oh, yeah.
The stunned pythons walked around the crowd all day and even went into the theater to watch the film with an audience.
How fun.
Gilliam remembers two people in particular who attended one of those first screenings who came up to the troupe and told them how much they liked the film. Those two people were John Belushi and Gilda Radner, who were each beginning their own careers.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm sure it was right around the time they were getting cast in SNL.
And then Belushi was like, hey, for the first sketch on SNL, we should rip off these guys I know, Monty Python.
I have this great idea for a sketch.
Yeah, it's about Wolverines.
The film grossed $122,200 in its first 3 weeks in London, and the first week in New York it grossed $35,000. The film would go on to earn over $5.5 million with re-releases over the years. The reviews were generally favorable.
When it opened, it was the highest grossing English film
For the year. Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be an ongoing thing with the Monty Python movies. It was not the highest grossing film in England, funny enough.
Well.
But it was the highest grossing English film in America.
Yeah, we were just getting crap back then.
That's true. Charles Champlin of the Los Angeles Times wrote that the film...
Like Mad Comics. First of all, it's Mad Magazine, you ass. Like Mad Comics, it's not certain to please every taste. But its youthful exuberance and its rousing zaniness are hard not to like. As a matter of fact, the sense of fun is dangerously contagious.
There were some dissenting opinions. Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune gave the film 2.5 stars, writing that he felt...
It contained about 10 funny moments and 70 minutes of silence. Too many jokes took too long to set up, a trait shared by both Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. I guess I prefer Monty Python in chunks in its original television review format.
I am pretty sure that Gene Siskel has never laughed in his entire life.
Well, Gene Siskel hated fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein? Is he actually denigrating those two classics?
Yes.
Well, what's funny, Gene? What's the funniest movie? Is it... Oh,
The funniest movie I ever saw was the one where, not a lot of people saw it, but my favorite comedy was the one where Jerry Lewis played a clown entertaining kids going into the oven in a concentration camp. Now that's comedy!
we played a clip from one of the specials, these Siskel and Ebert specials.
Funny thing is that movie's supposed to be coming out pretty soon.
I will not lie. I'm extremely curious to see it.
I am very curious, too.
I've been curious to see that for about 30 years when I first heard about it. It sounds horrible.
So Monty Python and the Holy Grail has gained cult status and is usually listed in the top 10 of funniest comedies of all time.
It's in mine.
It often loses out to Life of Brian, funny enough.
Well...
we'll talk more about that next week.
I haven't seen that in a while, but honestly, I think that might be my favorite of the bunch.
I am pretty sure that Life of Brian is going to be the peak of their... and I think they agree that it's the peak of, them together as a group.
Well, it's so smart.
Yeah.
And it is so risky. The fact that they take on Jesus Christ at the time was extremely ballsy, man, because people did not make fun of religion back then.
And we'll talk about it. Because it was very controversial. The film was adapted as the 2005 Tony Award-winning Broadway musical Spamalot. Written primarily by Idol, the stage show offers a revised plot while retaining mini jokes from the film. All of the investors in Monty Python and the Holy Grail will get a cut of the profits of Spamalot.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
So, the ones that are still alive.
Yeah, or their estates.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, which I did see when it was here at the Pantages, probably 10 or 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. It was doing a tour, and I saw Spamalot, and it was brilliant.
Oh, nice.
It was great. It had audience interaction. Somebody had something under their seat they didn't realize, and then they were there, and the person in the audience is like, "What?"
That's awesome.
It was great. It was really great.
I'd love to see it.
It's really funny. In May 2018, 20th Century Fox greenlit a film adaptation of the musical. Idol would write the screenplay, and stage director Casey Nicholaw would direct. Slated to begin filming in early 2019, production was delayed as a result of the acquisition of 20th Century Fox by the Walt Disney Company. The project announced a move to Paramount Pictures on January 6, 2020, with Idol and Nicholaw still attached as writer and director, and Dan Jinks joining as a producer. And then something weird happened.
What?
The pandemic.
What's that?
Yeah. However, in 2021, Idol confirmed on his Twitter account that the film would not be made because two of his former colleagues opposed it.
I agree. I'm sorry. I don't need to see... I would love to see the stage show, but I don't need to see non-Monty Python people doing Monty Python.
I don't think that it would work.
No, not as a movie.
No, I think it works best as a play.
Because we already have a movie.
Yes, we don't need that.
No, there's no possible way that you're going to improve upon the Holy Grail with anybody else besides the Pythons.
They just wanted to cash in. I mean,
I get it. Yeah. I get it. But, look, leave it on the stage, man. Yeah. This whole cannibalization, the crybaby effect, I call it, where you got the movie, then you got the musical, then you make the movie of the musical, then you make the play of the play.
It's so annoying. It's just so annoying. It's just this
Yeah.
Ouroboros just constantly eating itself.
Thank you.
It's like, how?
Ouroboros is one of my favorite.
The musical would get revived a number of times with the touring show making the rounds around the world. The film has been released on home media no less than 7 times, It seems that the best version so far is the 40th anniversary Blu-ray, which I ended up purchasing.
Nice.
Which contains all previously released extra material, as well as a 30-minute Q&A with the surviving cast in 2015 from the Tribeca Film Festival, hosted by John Oliver.
Ooh, I gotta watch that.
Yeah.
I like John Oliver.
It was a special thing for that. But yeah, and there's been, I think since that 40th anniversary, and I think there's been at least 2 more releases since then.
Oh, yeah.
The funny thing is that they have the rights to all this stuff now, so they're just like, yeah, whatever, people buy it.
And we do.
And we'll get it. Yeah.
I've got the DVD, you've got the Blu-ray.
Yeah. It's so good. There's great commentaries with, I think it's 2 separate commentaries. They never have them all together doing commentary together.
Weird.
Like, I don't know why. But
scheduling,
I guess, yeah. But it's fun though because then they play off each other a lot. It's good to hear them, kind of barbing each other back and forth. And
you would think at one point in 40 years or 50 years, they could all be in the same room together.
Yeah, you'd think so. But I love this movie. I did not really remember how much I loved this movie until we watched it again. And I mean, I knew it was going to be good. I knew it was going to be funny.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Man, this movie is just nonstop and so brilliant.
This is a staple. I'm sure I've seen this just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
When we had cable, and if this rarely came on HBO or Stars or something, I would stop and watch. Because no matter where you pick up this movie,
it's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
It doesn't matter. It's so funny.
It's the kind of thing that pisses me off because there's just no way, especially if you're a sketch guy, you know?
Yeah.
And I loved doing sketch and improv. I loved it, man. Mm-hmm. It was probably my favorite thing, performing. And it was just depressing knowing that you were never going to be as funny as those guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
They just make it look so easy.
So easy.
It's so deceptively easy.
And I will say it again. I said it the last show, but I truly believe that the secret sauce to their success was the fact that they were primarily writers rather than performers.
Agreed.
Because the insecurity of performers is a cancer a lot of times in these types of groups. And if you're all like, I don't care, you can play whatever. You know, and also realizing, well, you're the best actor, you should be the lead.
Yeah.
And all of them being like, yeah. And not having like, well, I wanted to be the lead.
Right. Nobody's thrown their ego around.
Yes.
It's what works best for the comedy.
I would get caught up in the minutia, like naming the group or this or that. You know, it's like, I wanted to be the one to do. And it's like, why? Who cares? It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid. You know, that's one thing I really wish I could go back now with the knowledge that I have and relive those years and not be...
Yeah, put the ego aside.
Yes. And,
just understand what the good you have together.
And trust that other people outside of the group have your best interest.
Yes.
I'm just envious of the way that these guys work together and the years that they had together and that they kept coming back together. You know, like the kids and all, they keep coming back together.
They keep wanting to work together.
Which is great. You know, when you create something so magical that gives so many people joy, these gentlemen have created hours and hours and hours of just pure undulated joy.
Yeah, yeah.
And not
undulated.
Pure pure, unadulterated joy.
Yes.
It just must be such a great... It always bothers me, and I don't think I've seen it with these guys, but it always bothers me when comedians get older and they just stop having a sense of humor about themselves, or they take things too seriously. And it doesn't seem like these guys have done that.
No.
You know, there's been some pickles here and there, but whatever. I still love hearing Eric, when I watched Eric Idle on Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
Oh, yeah.
Still hilarious.
Yeah.
Still working. And the thing that is so sad that I wanted to bring up, these guys didn't make a lot of money, man.
No. I mean, that's part of the reason they sued and got the rights back to all their stuff.
Eric Idle recently was talking to somebody, I don't know if it was on Twitter or something, but he mentioned, he's like, look, I have to work.
Yeah.
I cannot retire. I don't make residuals or enough money to retire. I need to work at 80-something years old.
Yeah.
Same with John Cleese. They need to work. And that's what is so sad to me.
Yeah.
These guys should be not that money matters, but they should at least be comfortable.
Right.
They should at least be able to retire in their 80s if they want to.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, arts are different. A lot of artists want to keep doing it until they die.
Yeah.
But I think Eric Idle's a little tired and needs a damn break, and he deserves it, man.
Yeah.
But all of these guys, look, if you haven't seen this movie, what's wrong with you? You've had 50 years. I'm pretty sure that most everybody who's listening has watched this movie. But if you haven't seen it in a while, it holds up 100%.
You can get the 40th anniversary Blu-ray for like $13 on Amazon.
Adam picked up all 3 of the movies this month for how much?
Less than $30
On Blu-ray.
on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most expensive one, if I had bought brand new, was Life of Brian.
Yeah.
But I got a pretty good used copy for like $13, and Meaning of Life I got for like $8.
Yeah. And look, if you even want to spend less, they still hold up on DVD.
And I believe right now, all of the movies, not the show, but all the movies are on Peacock right now. I believe that Monty Python, or Holy Grail, and Life of Brian and Meaning Life are all on Peacock.
Oh, good.
So check them out.
And you can watch Flying Circus on Plex.
Yes.
And the first season on Prime.
First season on Prime, yeah.
But yeah, look, get yourself some Python, baby.
Yeah,
because the beauty of this show that I'm learning is that the things that I loved in the past are depression killers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And being able to, I'm in a crap mood, blah, 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 blah. And then you watch this stuff and you're like, I'm in a better mood for 5 minutes.
There are a lot of reasons to be very depressed as of late.
Sure.
And this is pure joy.
Exactly. So get your ass up, get yourself some Monty Python, and watch the Holy Grail, and then get yourself some Life of Brian, so you're ready for next week's show.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
I push the pram along.
Cheese. Cleese.
Cheese?
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you wrote cheese on that
Nope.
one.
That was just me misreading.
Listen to our Time Bandit show.
Did we do Time Bandit? We didn't do Time Bandits.
I thought we did.
No.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure we did not. I have not seen that movie in a long time.
I thought we did Time Bandits. That was the one with Walter Matthau, right?
No, that was...
No, pirate I'm thinking of. I got them all confused.
literally just talked about this, and you just said... That's funny.
And then there's Eric the Viking, too, with Tim Robbins. Tim Robbins.
Yes.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Vegas, already in progress.